Bonsoir Nadine Yabo. Ladies and gentlemen, televiewers, thanks for joining us on the 8 p.m. bilingual newscast on EQUINOXE television, live from our central news desk in Douala, Cameroon. In this edition of the newscast, challenges and difficulties faced by traders in the conflict-hit city of Bamenda, northwest region of Cameroon, have been presented to the Prime Minister, head of government. Chief Dr. John Gote went to the Bamenda food market, had to talk face-to-face with traders of this market, and the U.S. Congress has said initiatives developed by the governments of Cameroon, notably the creation of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism, Multiculturalism, the putting in place of the Ministry of Decentralization, as well as the creation of the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee, have failed to play a constructive role in resolving the Anglophone crisis. Those are our top stories. Thanks, Nadine Yambu. Televiewers, thanks for joining us in this second segment of news in the English language. We begin with the main news story: the 4-day visit of Prime Minister of the Republic of Cameroon, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote, to the northwest region of the country today, which is the third day of his official visit. The Prime Minister met with traders of the Bamenda food market, face-to-face with the occupants of the Star Building. Traders of the Bamenda food market painted a picture of how they have suffered the Anglophone crisis. A special envoy to Bamenda is Babila Jonathan.
The Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote, is at the Bamenda main market, and he's discussing with some traders here at the Bamenda main market. He's conveying to them the message of peace from the President of the Republic, and some of them are now talking to him, expressing their grievances, expressing some of the frustrations that he have, and of course their expectations as far as the Anglo.
And on day 2 of his visit, which was Thursday, the 10th of May 2019, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote made a stopover on some key road junctions and neighborhoods in the city of Bamenda, notably EQUINOXE, where he had a tete-a-tete with some inhabitants of the city of Bamenda. Babila Jonathan, Innocent Abega, once again.
Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote at EQUINOXE in the town of Bamenda, speaking to inhabitants of the northwest region and conveying a message of peace from the President of the Republic of Cameroon.
Thank you. We will discuss all within them. But that's also Cameroon are one country. Not be so. That's so. Don't want to make Cameroon divide. Yeah.
It's a good news for Cameroonians. Let people stand and talk. Let them meet the people. Let them come on the street and know that people are suffering. Help the people. Why can't you help the people like the Prime Minister is doing today? We all of us are happy for what he has done today. And he should continue like this. Let him come and meet the people. Meet all the poor people. Meet all the mad people on the street. And we will have a solution to all this crisis. We are suffering in our region. The whole time we are suffering. I am happy today because this is a history he has created history.
He stopped to discuss with the people of Bamenda here at the EQUINOXE neighborhood, as well as at the food market neighborhood, and this is after his visit to the University of Bamenda in the Bambili, where he urged the university community to work hard for the restoration of peace in the two Anglophone regions of the country. And during that meeting with the Prime Minister, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Bamenda, Professor Teresa Onko Akenji, highlighted the devastating consequences of the Anglophone crisis on the university, indicating that the enrollment has dropped from 21,000 students to about 15,000 students now, and she equally highlighted other problems that are affecting the university, urging Prime Minister Dr. John Gote to ensure that government provides solutions to some of the difficulties faced by the university. He was equally at the residence of the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Frundi, for lunch.
And political leaders in the northwest region of Cameroon told Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti that the release of all those arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis, and equally disarming or army or soldiers leaving the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, could equally be a way out of the crisis. They were speaking during a meeting with the Prime Minister, and of course Babila Jonathan again reports on how the Prime Minister discussed with political leaders in Bamenda.
The political leaders who have met with the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti, here in the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda, have maintained that the government has to call for a ceasefire as the beginning of the solution to the Anglophone crisis. For this, they think is the only way, or the only thing that is going to convince the pro-independence fighters to drop their guns and leave the bushes and come out into the normal life trend. And these are some of the things that have been highlighted by the political leaders who met with Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti, among whom the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Frundi, and other leaders, and even the vice president of the Senate who met with the Prime Minister.
The message the party has given the Prime Minister, there are four sides to the message. The first point is that we are asking for an immediate bilateral ceasefire. That must be the first point. The second point is that we are asking for an immediate release of all political prisoners, all prisoners of war. They should be released as a condition for peace. The third condition is we're asking that a mediator be put into place that will go between the warring parties, the Amazonian forces, and the government to negotiate. The party has offered the services of our national chairman here present, John Frundi, as one of the best candidates for negotiation, for serving as the mediator. On the same score, we have been asking that observers, independent observers, be put in to watch the peace process, that they watch the peace process once the ceasefire has been put into place, to make sure that both sides are respecting the ceasefire.
Sons and daughters of the Northwest region and elites here who met with the Prime Minister have, however, been reacting to the message brought by the occupants of the Star Building to their region. In the following excerpt, Professor Ufe Melo Chinje, who is rector of the University of Ngaoundéré, is also an elite of the Northwest region.
The most difficult stalemate which we have today to open the doors to everything is the guns, is the children with weapons. He's told them that even the military should not be around if those guns were not being used, if the boys were not in the bushes. And he pleaded with these women who were crying, talking to them, please go home. These are definitely your children. If they're not your children, they're your sister's children. Talk to your husbands, talk to your fathers, and let's see how they can put down their guns. They shouldn't be in the bushes. They should come. And you heard him. He said everything the President of the Republic is ready to put on the table, but for cessation. Everything could be negotiated. He said there are even special programs to recruit, specific recruitment, specially for those boys who will come back from the bushes. I'm a professor, as you said. If I never went to school, and especially at the age that I was supposed to go to school, I don't think I would have been a professor today. So we've lost out for 3 years. We are the ones suffering. The Northwest, the Southwest is the one going backwards, because the biggest tool anybody can have is when you're educated. The intake into the universities are dropping because some of them have preferred to go wayward. Some of them have problems because they are not sure of security. They're not to talk of the children who, at 3 years, they should have started school, they'll be turning 6. With that, the IQ is dropping, it's not moving in the right direction. So if we don't get them to go to school at the right age, everything has been calculated. There's an age to go to school. When you skip that age to go to school, we are making life difficult. And the tomorrow for the Northwest and the Southwest, we should not stop education.
And it should be noted that Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Ngote, on day 2 of his visit to the Northwest, announced on his Twitter handle that there was a dialogue ongoing. He called on Cameroonians of goodwill to join in the dialogue, which is ongoing. Reacting to the declaration of the Prime Minister is Aya Paul Abine, former Chief Judge of Cameroon and equally head of the Popular Action Party. He was interviewed in Boya, chief town of the Southwest region, by our reporter Derek Jatu.
Leader of a political party and the interest of Ambazonia to which he belongs. So there will be conflict of interest, and that disqualifies him automatically.
Now, Prime Minister is moving and meeting people. He says his doors are open. He will meet people, peace-loving Cameroonians, to discuss and chart the way forward. If we sit one-on-one with you today, Lord Justice, what will you be telling him as a way out of this crisis?
I wouldn't even waste my time going to sit with him. I have said, and I'm repeating, that Ambazonia is composed of two groups of people. The people on the territory and the people outside. Until they discuss with these two groups together, it is a waste of time, a waste of energy, a waste of resources. You cannot be dialoguing with peace-loving people. They are peace-loving, there is no problem. What is the topic of your dialoguing with them? You only dialogue with those who have a conflict, who are in a situation of conflict with you. So to talk about dialoguing with peace-loving Cameroonian in itself is a contradiction in terms. You cannot be dialoguing with somebody with whom you have no problem. Because the essence of the dialogue is to find common ground. Either you find common ground or you disagree and you go your separate ways.
Thank you.
And the U.S. Congress says initiatives developed by the government of Cameroon, notably the creation of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, the putting in place of the Ministry of Decentralization, and the creation of the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee have failed to play a constructive role to resolve the Anglophone crisis. Sitting at the 116th Congress, members said only a credible, broad-based dialogue without preconditions with religious and community leaders in the Northwest and Southwest regions can address the Anglophone crisis. The U.S. Congress said the reconstruction or the reconstituting of a federal system in Cameroon could be an option or a possible way out of the crisis. They also strongly condemn atrocities committed by separatist fighters and the use of force by the Cameroonian military. The U.S. Congress called for the release of Sisi Kwayuk Tabe and Co., as well as the release of Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party and all those arrested together with him. And members of the National Commission for People, Human Rights and Freedom say only a ceasefire can provide an end to the conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. They were speaking during a meeting in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Simanji Kangebe tells us more.
It was total disorder at the premises of the National Commission for Human Rights in Yaoundé. Members of the commission were meeting in an ordinary session. At the time, the president of the commission, Shimuta Divine Banda, was making his address. He was interrupted brutally by Professor James Mwange Kobila, who is the vice president of the commission.
Je voudrais savoir s'il est opportun, s'il est indiqué pour le président de lancer un tel appel au chef de l'État dans le cadre d'un discours d'ouverture de session. C'est ça.
Nous devons en discuter d'abord à l'intérieur de la commission et à la sortie de cette commission.
Since there is no one without two, the action of Professor James Kobila was soon copied by another member of the commission. In his address, Chimuta Divine Banda says arms should be dropped and the president should call for a ceasefire.
The commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who is also highly acclaimed as father of the nation, should stop the fighting, the deadly fighting, and seek to resolve the problem through honest dialogue. Dialogue that addresses the root causes of the problem in order to agree on lasting solutions in the general interest.
Minutes later, the president of the National Commission for Human Rights tried to give an explanation to what happened in the hall earlier on.
During my presentation of the opening speech, if you saw something, you report it the way you saw it.
For Chimuta Divine Banda, apart from informing the population, he was also calling on the attention of the president on the degrading situation of human rights in Cameroon. The priorities of the commission were made clear.
We will continue to promote and protect human rights in Cameroon through observation, investigation, and alert, and through recommendations to public authorities, and through appeal to all Cameroonians, even including those who are in armed groups, so that they should learn to respect human rights. And we intend to continue expanding our services throughout the national territory in conformity with the law, because we have not yet planted our services in all the regions. But by the end of this year, we shall have planted our services in the 10 regions.
This 26th session for the National Commission of Human Rights was the first in 2016, and the commission is expected to adopt several laws that will guide them throughout this year. From every indication within the commission, members are still to come into agreement about the human rights situation in Cameroon.
Coming up, we take you to the Nde division in the west region of Cameroon to see how internally displaced people from the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon are living. Immaculate Fogwe tells us more.
They are in their numbers who have fled the trouble-hit northwest and southwest regions to seek refuge in the Nde division, the west region of Cameroon. This washing point, situated in the heart of Bagante, is employing more than 10 internally displaced persons. The employer, popularly known as Nyanko, originates from the northwest region but has been living in Bagante for the past 12 years. Almost all of my employees are from the northwest or southwest regions. Their coming here is due to the ongoing crisis in the regions. I have no choice than to help them. Most of those who arrive here have no place to stay in, so I bring them into my house, while others who are family members here live with them. Ali Umaru is one of the internally displaced, coming from Bambeli in the northwest region. I do wash vehicles, motorbikes, so as to earn a living. Not far away from the washing point, this young boy, who decided to be anonymous, told us he lost his parents during one of the gun battles in his area. These students are equally internally displaced, but have the opportunity to forward their education. It was for this reason why the first Deputy Senior Divisional Officer of the Nde Division, Mr. Vendongo Antoine Yannick, decided to respond to the needs of these internally displaced persons. The administration is here to respond to the needs of what I call in quotes internally displaced persons. But for us here, they are not seen as internally displaced persons. They are in their home. They should feel at home. As they await for calm to return in their regions, they keep on facing the devastating effects of the Anglophone crisis.
And it is with that report of Immaculate Fogwe that will put an end to this edition of the Bilingual Newscast on Equinox Television. Thanks for watching. Have a nice weekend. Nadine Yambo, bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Merci, Fomi Armstrong Sanda. Meilleur à vous. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est la fin de ce journal. Merci pour votre aimable attention. Passez d'agréables moments en compagnie de nos programmes.